Floating in the midst of these unknown beings, transcending the boundaries of her reality, as they efficiently traveled through the closed wooden doors to her backyard. Betty knew this was her backyard as she beheld a mystical pageantry, gazing in wonderment at multicolored lights entwined in pools of mist, enchantingly dancing round about her.
Betty, look up,
Kaisgar said. Obediently she looked, and in amazement, a colossal disc-like craft hung in the sky, canopying her yard. Maybe even the neighborhood, she thought. And then she saw it. Oh, that's the image and vision in the blue book. I see it, and it's real, she said in amazement. The craft had a glass bottom and a wheel within a wheel, rotating, and unusual, unfamiliar creatures. The creatures, Betty said, as she counted quietly. 1, 2, 3, no, 4. Yes, 4 of them, she noted. Oh, and the odd way they're moving, an array of beautiful lights. Now I understand, she cried.
Fear not, Betty. You can trust us,
the being said.
I have more to show you. Come along.
Gesturing her towards a beaming light pouring out the center of the craft, and waving his long bony hand towards the craft, a door opened, spilling 3 stairs, the glass bottom transforming to a silver and gold mineral substance. Then Betty, Kaisgar, and the others levitated towards the stairs, sweeping past the seemingly unnecessary stairs and entering the craft. Betty, awestruck, as she gazed upon the interior, the walls were curved and it was lit in a brilliant white light. Strange floating rooms bobbed around the vast expanse. Behind her, the craft door securely shut, and Betty began feeling strange, her body suddenly weightless. Oh no, she said, my legs and arms are asleep. Calling to Kaisgar and the others, who were quietly having an intense conversation a distance away from her, ignoring her pleas. Panic now setting in, Betty yelled, hurry up! I can't move my hands and my feet. Hurry up! The beings stopped their chatter as Kaisgar silently left the room, leaving Betty alone with the small creatures. Oh no! Betty bellowed. Where are you going? Don't leave me! Quickly the creatures moved to her and said,
Kaisgar is going to get ready. Come with us.
And they floated towards another door that mysteriously appeared. As they descended a long spiral staircase, moving swiftly down to another door. Upon entering a brightly lit dome-shaped room, Betty was frozen in place by an unknown force as the beings left her alone. When another being, much like the others, appeared in front of her,
Will you follow me, please?
the being instructed, and before Betty could answer, they floated towards a platform that had mysteriously appeared in the room.
Get under that, please.
The being commanded. What is it? Betty cried.
It is for cleaning. It restores.
Will it hurt? She inquired.
No, it is just to cleanse you.
The being reassures her. Betty dutifully steps on the platform, and streaks of dreadful lights shower down upon her, cleansing her. Hello, Mrs. Oya. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Nat, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful shores of North Queensland, Australia, home of the Great Barrier Reef. That's not an Australian accent, you say, and you would be correct. I was born and raised in South Africa and immigrated to Australia about 15 years ago. If you like this content, please click the like and subscribe button And if you would like a free gift, sign up for our newsletter, links down in the description box below, and we'll send you this adorable Mrs. O Investigates sticker featuring our elite team of investigators, Harley and Pepper. With all that out of the way, let's get on with the video. If you have not watched part 1 of this series, I would highly recommend watching that first. As we did an overview of Betty's life, this abduction is known as the most documented alien abduction in human history. We had a look at the team headed by famed UFOologist Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who conducted a 12-month investigation, and we explored the wonderful strangeness of the area, including the intriguing Bridgewater Triangle, a place we will definitely be visiting in the very near future. In today's video, I'll do a quick overview of the events, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the actual transcripts of Betty's hypnosis so we can hear directly from the source. Betty lived with her husband James and their 7 children in a small farmhouse in South Ashburnham in Worcester County, northern Massachusetts. They married in June 1954. Betty was 17, James was 21, and in the Navy. A year later, their oldest daughter, Becky, was born, and the other 6 children were born in quick succession. They were a good, wholesome Christian family who attended church every Sunday, and by 1966, they had settled into this little farmhouse. A month before the abduction, on the 23rd of December 1965, James was in a motor vehicle accident where he was rushed to hospital. He spent a week in the ICU, and that was followed by months of hospitalization needing to be in traction. Betty's parents had moved in to help with the children and chores around the house, and by January 25th, 1967, the night of the event, Betty was content. The children had settled quicker than usual. After the bath and dinner, Cindy was curled up on Grandma Eve's lap as the boys and Bonnie watched Bozo the Clown on TV. Becky had just burst into the door about 5 minutes earlier, enjoying the good weather. Suddenly, the lights flickered on, off, and on again. The children, shaken by the sudden darkness, barreled into the kitchen, seeking the safety of their mother. As Betty stood in the kitchen, surrounded by frightened, crying children, a pink glow lit up in the room, the light seemingly coming from their backyard through the kitchen window. The entire house fell silent, amazed, as this pink light grew brighter and brighter, filling the kitchen. The lights then began pulsating, and then they changed to orange. Betty, then feeling panic, yelled to the children to get out of the kitchen, hoping she could find some safety away from the kitchen. Wayno Aino, her dad, walked past Betty to investigate the source of the light. He looks out of the window and later describes what he says looks like freakish Halloween ghouls dressed in Moon Man suits, about 3 foot tall, hopping like grasshoppers towards the house. The creatures notice him, stare directly at him, and then he's frozen in the same spot, in some sort of suspended animation. To her horror, Betty witnesses this happening. She bolts back to the kitchen where 4 creatures come through the closed wooden door, gliding a few feet off the floor, looking like your standard grey aliens, except one who's the leader and Betty calls the talker. His name is Kaysgar. He's 5 foot, while the others are shorter, between 3 and 4 foot. Betty believes these are angels, remembering the Bible verse, "Be kind to strangers, you might be entertaining angels unaware," and she offers them food and starts cooking them a steak. After they explain that they cannot eat that kind of meat, they need food tried by fire, Betty heads back to the living room to retrieve her Bible, and she hands it to Queska. That is the leader of the group, and he identifies himself by that name. When she hands him the Bible starts spinning around. Betty watches on in amazement, and it eventually stops, opens, and all the pages are blank. Queska hands Betty a blue book. She opens it and sees what is described as a wheel within a wheel rotating. She doesn't understand what she's looking at. She shuts the book, And looking up at them, their eyes have now gone solid black and larger. With a bit of arm twisting, they convince Betty to follow them. After they tell her they'll not hurt her and her family, she relents and she agrees to go with them. She then floats out the house with them. And just a reminder, if you didn't watch in part 1, I said that these images that we're looking at, the black and white sketches, is what Betty actually drew of the event. Exiting through the closed solid door, and when she's outside, she sees the lights and the mist. Quasker tells her to look up. She does, and sees a huge disc taking up the entire night sky in her backyard. She sees through a glass bottom of the disc exactly what was shown to her in the blue book, now seeing it with her own eyes in real life. Kaysgar then says to her, "Do you believe me now?" And he waves his hand. She's beamed up into the craft, and we left off where she had been cleansed in a brilliant light. The entities return and they say, "Will you follow us, please?" Betty's now frantic. Where are we going? Because Kaysgar's left her. She then follows them down a spiral staircase. She goes into the room, and this is where the white robe is, suspended with nothing holding it up. They move Betty to the robe and say, "Will you please change?" Betty's like, "No, I don't want to change." And they just repeat, "Will you please change?" Betty's sobbing and she's like, "I'm not changing." And they just repeat over and over, "Will you please change? Will you please change?" Betty finally relents, tell her to put the white garment on, and they point to a floating room that magically appears. "Will you please get changed? I want to talk to Kaysgar," Betty demands. "Why do I have to get changed?" And they just say, "Please change, please change, please change." And this just echoes in Betty's head. She finally steps into the floating room. She describes this experience in one of her hypnotic sessions, and we're going to go through that now. Because this was a scientific project, when Betty was under hypnosis, there were a few people in the room asking her different questions. I'm just going to refer to them as examiner to make things easier. And when I speak to Betty, I'll say E for examiner and Betty for Betty. And then that'll just be clear, and I'll go through the transcripts as we go through. "Betty, they've got something looking in there." And so I said, "All right." And I had to step up into that room too. And I'm in that room, and it's all looks like a pyramid on its side with a bubble where you went into a door, just enough standing room. There, that white garment there. Betty's modesty is now taking over, and she's feeling very vulnerable standing there, having to take her clothes off. She goes on, "Betty, and so I took off the first thing of my clothing, and I wondered if they've got something looking in there. And so I took that white garment and I put it around me while I took the rest of my underthings, and I slipped into that white garment, and that white garment was open in the front, and loose around the arms, and went down to about my knees, and it was sealed around the edges somehow. It had sort of like a scoop neck thing, and it had a silver clasp up to the top. It had slits on both sides and a little slit in the back, but the front was wide open, so I sort of wrapped it around me, and I banged on the side. There, and I said, 'I'm ready,' and the door whooshed open and went open somehow, and I said, 'I'm ready.' Betty steps out, she says, 'I'm ready,' and she begins to move along with the beings. Panic then overtakes her because she doesn't know where she's going now. She's now not in her own clothes, and she's starting to feel very vulnerable. And she begins to pray silently, 'Please, please, Jesus, please help me.' Immediately the beings come to her, stop as though reading her thoughts, she says, and they say to her, 'You'll
be all right, follow us.'
Betty explains that their faces seem to be filled with deep concern as they repeated,
'You'll be all right, follow us. You'll be all right, follow us.'
over and over. Betty says they then entered into a dome-shaped room which was brightly lit, and it had a desk examination table with buttons and lights on a side panel. They moved Betty to the exam table and beckoned her to get on, and she began protesting again. I don't want to get up there. No, I don't want to. She said it louder and louder. Beings leave her, and then this room just gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and it's such a brilliant brightness. She can't see anything, but she's just screaming. And this is when she hears footsteps, and Kay's car appears in front of her. And now we're going to go through that hypnosis session and what she said happened in this examination. So let's get on with that. Betty. Quay's guy is coming in now. He's in a different suit with some others, and he comes over to me.
You're going to be all right.
Quay's guy said.
You're going to be okay.
Betty. And somehow they've got me. They're putting me on a flat center thing. In that room, they seem to be in different clothes, shiny white silver clothes. E. Were these different beings than the ones you met in the kitchen? Betty. Their skin seemed whiter. Maybe it's because of the bright light in there. It didn't seem so clay-like, grey. E. The leader was the same as the one you had in the kitchen? Betty. Yes, he's the same. E. What happened next? Betty. There's a big block, long block thing they had me on, and lights coming from the walls, and wires, needle wires. They took those long silver needles. They were bendable, and they stuck one up my nose and into my head. E. Did you feel the pain? Betty. Yes, they touched the top of my brain and took it away, touched my forehead. They said they were awakening something. E. Just relax for a moment, okay? Just relax, relax, relax. You're going deeper and deeper into a beautiful place of peace, of quiet. Your whole body is relaxing as you go still deeper and deeper. All right? Continue now, Betty. E. Are there any sounds associated with this particular experience? Betty. When they stick that needle up my nose, I heard something break, like a membrane or a veil or something, like a piece of tissue or something. They broke through. E. When this object was inserted in your nostril, was it a drilling effect or just a penetrating? Betty. Just a penetrating, pushing. E. Which nostril? My left. Left. E. Did they leave you alone for a while? Betty. No, they were getting it over and done with, and they inserted another long silver thing through my belly button, my navel, and when they did, they started talking with each other. E. What was this long thing connected to? Betty. I really can't see, because I'm lying down straight. E. Did they tell you what the purpose was for the penetration of your navel? What was the examination for? Betty. Something about creation, but they say there were some parts missing. E. Can you explain to us what that means? Betty. It was because I had a hysterectomy, I guess.
Just want to measure you for light.
Kaysgar said. That's what you're going to do? Just measure me for light? Betty said.
Just want to measure you for light.
Betty. And I'm lying there, and this thing, 2 bars to the side, and like a fan, and tulips on the end, and I don't know. He's waving it over me, and yes.
Not understand the word that you have. You've misunderstood some places.
Quasga told her.
There are some spots there from it. You are not completely filled with the light.
She begins strongly protesting, and she said, while she's under hypnosis, and she says, Betty, I believe I'm filled with the light. I believe that I'm filled with the light.
We will have to measure you physically.
Betty, you told me that I wouldn't have to be measured physically, that you have measured others in the past physically, but you wouldn't have to measure me because of the light.
But we have to, because there are some spots there.
Betty, is this going to hurt? I thought that you would only measure me for light. Betty, I feel shaky. He's taking in an instrument, and I'm going to stand over the, I'm in complete control. He's taking an instrument and, ow, wow. Why do you put that up my nose? Oh. He's putting that thing in my nose, and it's going up, and it's breaking through something. I don't like it. Oh, I can't move. It's hurting. So after this, Quasgar then waves his hand over her and then tells her to relax. And Betty says, thank you. She's like, thank you. Anyway, we carry on. E, you can feel yourself relax. After removing the needles everywhere, they start chatting, and we continue. Betty, and now they're going over there and talking. Oh boy, I'll be glad when this is all over with. They're talking about something over there. Now they are looking at me. They're coming over, and they're saying they have to measure me for procreation. Betty was now terrified, crying out in the hypnosis session, and they continue. She starts yelling, Betty, what are you doing? What are you doing that for? What is that? They reply, it won't hurt. Don't worry, it won't hurt. Betty then replies, I didn't think that would hurt. The other one, she retorted, but it hurt. Betty, and so they're getting ready for something. They are down by my feet somewhere. They're doing something. They're not touching me, but they are doing something. I can feel them moving that thing around my stomach, my body. They've stopped. And he's putting his hand on my head. Now he's talking with them about something missing parts or something. I think he's saying, oh, he's pushing that again, around, feeling things. I don't like this. Feels like he's going right around my stuff inside, feeling it or something with the needle. Oh boy, he's stopped again, and he's going over to them. They looked at me. They're saying something about some kind of test. He then panics, and she starts screaming and freaking out. Quasgar then comes, and he waves his hand over her, and she calms down immediately. And he says to her,
these things won't hurt you, just lie very, very still.
He then says to her, the next lot of tests won't hurt you, just lay very, very still. She argues with him, and she's like, that's what you said before. And he's like, no, you're good. And then we continue. Betty, something up in the center of the ceiling, coming down. It's like a big eye of some kind. I don't know, maybe like a lens. I don't know what it is. And it's moving down, all the way down by my stomach. And they're bringing it real close. Betty's now visibly stricken from this machine coming at her. Betty, I hope that things don't hurt. Oh, don't let it hurt. It doesn't hurt, at least. They're raising it up again, and they are bringing it all the way up. This big eye that came down from the ceiling, was it attached to something? Betty, I don't know. I couldn't see past that. All you could see was just that eye thing coming down? Betty, it was attached to the ceiling, yes. What did it look like? It was made of. Compare it with something that you're familiar with. Betty, plastic and glass. What shape was it? Betty, it was shaped like an eye, an oval eye, but the round centerpiece was like a lens. I'll have to draw it. And this is what Betty drew. All you could see was just this thing coming down? Betty, it was attached to the ceiling, yes.
See, after the lens retracted, that didn't hurt, did it?
Betty, no, but other things did.
Very sorry, it needed to be done.
Betty, how much longer am I going to have to lie here? Possibly a few more moments, Quasgar assured Betty. Betty, and he waved his hand over me again. He's going over, and they're looking at something over there. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Their heads are looking down at something. Must be studying something over there. Oh, how long am I going to have to stay here? Betty groaned. Quasgar looks back at her and tells her, we'll just be a moment longer. Betty, and somehow he's waving his hands over my hands. How does that make you feel, Betty? Betty, he did this several times. I felt more relaxed. My hands feel better, and my legs and my feet. He's waving over these, and I'm sitting up all of a sudden, and Betty, and I'm like, I'm being carried off there somehow, and carried somehow, but nobody's touching me. It doesn't seem, they are beside me, but seems like I'm being carried over to the door. Betty is then levitated out of the door. She doesn't see Kay's God. That time the beings leave her, that they take her back to her room and they leave her. And we have a puppy interruption. I'll be right back. After this, she's returned home. This was not the only encounter Betty had, and they are all detailed in the book, The Andreasson Affair by Raymond E. Fowler. He was one of the experts that was on this case. He was very much a skeptic. He details and chronicles all the evidence of the investigation, and now he's like 100% convinced Betty's telling the truth and aliens are real. Betty has her final farewell with Kaysgar, and she relays his message under hypnosis to the world. Kaysgar returns to Betty one last time and he says,
"Child, you must forget for a while."
His face changes and his eyes fill up his entire face. One is black and one is white. He puts both his hands on her shoulders and mathematical formulas start filling her mind. He then says farewell to her by saying this, quote,
"Until man finds and understands these formulas, we will give no other. Your race will not understand you, Betty, and will not believe you till much time has passed. Your time."
He goes on to say, quote,
"We love the human race and have come to save the human race. And unless man accepts he will not live, he will not be saved. All things have been planned."
Planned by who? Who planned them? Kaysgar? That's what I would have said. Anyway, he goes on.
We do not want to hurt anybody because of our great love for you. And because of this great love, they cannot let man continue in their footsteps.
He then goes on to say he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and because of their great love for us, they cannot let man continue in the footsteps he's traveling. It's better to lose one than to lose all. Okay, he said that.
It's through the spirit, but man refuses to search out that portion.
Spirit, I would have asked that. He then says they have technology, we want to give it to you and then you can use it. He then goes on to say,
man must understand many of the natural things on earth. If man will just study nature itself, he'll find out many of the answers. He will find them within. Many answers are with fire, and there are many answers in ashes. Within the highest of the highs and the lowest of the low, man will find them through the spirit. Man is not just made of flesh and blood, and it would be easy to hand you over, but that would show that we are not worthy to receive those.
I have questions. Who's handing who over, and who do they need to be worthy with? Like, what is going on here, right? He continues.
The knowledge is sought out through the spirit. Those that are worthy are given, those that are pure of heart, seek with earnestness, will give. Energy is round about man that he does not know. It has the simplest form of energy. It is within the atmosphere, this atmosphere.
Okay. Sounds like they like our energy more than we need to know about this energy. I'm just saying. He carries on.
All has been provided for him.
I'm assuming he means man when he says this.
Many riddles will be given.
Well, riddle me this. If you love us so much and you're so concerned with us, why don't you just tell us what it is you want us to do? Oh, wait, he'll tell us why. Let's get there.
Those that are wise will understand. Those that seek will find.
He just said that. He just said that.
They must remain hidden in this way because of the corruptions upon the earth. If they were revealed right now, man would use it.
What corruption is he talking about? Is it the sin corruption? Because I don't understand what corruption he's talking about. And then if he wants us to stop doing what we're doing because we're about to lose one, he says earlier, but they can't give it to us because if they give whatever it is they need to give to us, well, then we're going to use it. What? To fix these problems we're doing. I really got mad through this because I can't believe that Betty, I'm a Christian, right? I really got mad with this because I'm a Christian and I can't believe that Betty thinks that these are angels. She didn't even ask questions when all this was going on. I would at least have some questions. Who's handing who over to? What is going on here? What is going on here? In one of her final sessions under hypnosis, Betty's trying to recall a moment in an abduction when entities stop her and one channels, and what follows is the interaction and the communication. She starts looking like she's struggling against someone or something. They take control of her speech faculties. Then this is what they say. Betty.
They have things in control. They are in the heavens. They have powers. They can make you think one thing and yet mean another. I don't like them controlling my words.
E. You're still in the living room talking to them? Betty.
I know I'm there, but I'm here also.
E. Do you feel they're controlling your words now? Betty.
They were, and I don't like it. I don't like them controlling my hands either. Oh, my arms and my hands.
E. Are they doing something to your arms and your hands? Betty.
Yes, they are, and I don't like it.
E. What are they doing to your arms and hands? Betty.
I don't know. They're doing it just like they had me before.
E. They are restraining them? Betty.
Yes.
E. What does it feel like, Betty? Betty.
Feels like I can hardly feel them. They're so numb that I don't have any feeling, and I'm stuck to something.
Betty.
O tukfira, utifa tifata, mawa difwa, ma her dif. Ah ho morikota, eta, tra, etro, ha.
E. Betty, what are you saying to us? Betty.
I'm just saying it. I don't know what they're saying to you.
E. Are you repeating things that they are saying to you? Betty.
I don't know what it is. They're just saying it to me. I don't know what they're saying.
Betty.
Base 32. Base 32. Signal 32.
E. Betty, can you tell us any more about this? Does this refer to a number plate? Betty.
I don't know. Is it a place? Is it a place? Curvature. Somblido. Star Seso. Somblido. Star Seso.
E. Betty, is this a message we are supposed to understand? Betty.
I don't think it's from the book. I think it's coming from something.
E. Are you repeating things that they are saying to you? Betty.
I don't know what it is. They're just saying it to me. I don't know what they're saying.
E. Is this a message that you got then, or is this a new message? Betty.
No, I didn't get it then. It must be from now.
E. Do you feel you're in contact with them now? Betty.
I don't know, but my hands feel like the same as it was then. So do my feet and my legs.
E. Betty, is there something that they want us to understand right now? Betty.
Yes.
E. Do you know what it is? Can you tell us what it is? Betty.
Betty, something about scientists must bury the past.
Apologize for that. Miss Pepper needed to be part of the show as usual. Let's get on with it. E. Do you know what it is? Can you tell us what it is? Betty.
Something about scientists must bury the past.
If you hear that clicking, it is Mr. Harley chewing a bone and I can't leave him out, so I'm really sorry. Let's carry on. E. Say some more. Tell us some more. Betty.
There is an even flow. There are waves that are being sent out, and there are old walls that need to be broken down.
E. Can you tell us more? E. Does this relate to the formulas that they gave you, or is this different? Betty.
This is different. Something about circling the plane. Circle the plane. P-L-A-I-N. Count 3 and 4. Count 3 and 4. Counting 3 and 4 is very important.
Sounds like Britney Spears. E, can you tell us what the 3 and 4 relate to? Betty.
It's something about a door, and it's going to be opened. Oh, my hands.
E, Betty, you mentioned Star Seesaw. Is that a place? Betty.
Yes.
E, is it in our galaxy?
No.
E, is that where they're from? Betty.
No.
What does that mean to them? Betty.
It means something about a 2 and a 4 and a 0, 0, line under 0, 0, 0, line under 0, 0, line under, and it keeps going.
Okay, so we better all learn to code, I guess. E, Betty, did they ever give you the name of the place where they're from? Betty.
I can't pronounce it.
E, did they ever show you a map? Betty.
All I can see is a straight line down and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. There's something like circled, and I don't know what it is.
E, do you see a map? Betty,
It's a weird thing.
E, is it a chart, a map? Where did you see it? Betty.
I've just seen it now.
E, is it in your mind or was it a few minutes ago? Betty.
A few minutes ago.
Betty.
When I was in this room, I was no longer. Man seeks to destroy himself. Greed, greed, greed. And because of greed, it draws all foul things. Everything that has been provided for man, simple things. He could be advanced so far, but greed gets in the way. Freely, it will be given to those that have loved.
And as Betty said this, she spoke in a strange, like exorcist tongue as she was saying it. Also, like, yes, we are greedy as humans, but they're abducting humans out of their houses, out of their rooms. So let's not be throwing stones in glass houses or glass discs, shall we? Moving on. Betty.
Even now, you cannot see. Even now, we speak.
E. We are trying to see. Do you have a message for us? Betty.
You try to seek in wrong directions. Simplicity round about you. You breathe.
E, what do they want us as seekers of truth to understand right now? Betty.
Water you drink. Fire that warms. Earth that heals. Simplicity, ashes. Things that are necessary, taken for granted. Powers within them overlooked. Why think you are able to live? Simplicity.
E. Betty, are you telling us this? Are you interpreting this for us? Betty.
No, I'm not telling you these things.
Anyway, the channeling, whatever's channeling Betty, just goes on and on and on and just talking about truth, freedom, love, like a 1960s hippie, no offense. But then eventually they ask her about the blue book. So we'll do that and then we'll finish up. E. Will the blue book help us to understand the message? Betty.
You would be in just as much darkness about the blue book. First, seek out the simple forms of yourselves. Man is arrogant because his image makes up everything.
Could it be because we're the image of God? Just saying. Let's carry on.
Everything that is condensed and pride dwells there because of the image that man has been given.
Given by who? Like, given by who? I really want to know given by who. Anyway, the WEF Agenda 2030 talking points just carry on. And if you're interested in it, get the book, The Andreasson Affair. It is quite interesting. Blue Book, we've already dealt with the Blue Book in part 1. And if you go and check that out, we went and read Ezekiel and matched some of them up with what Betty said. And so go check that out if you're interested. Well, the blue book he gave her, he took back a day earlier because she broke the rules. Kaysgar said only those who had gone through the initiation and cleansing could see the book. I had to let her go. We went through the book a bit, but the book had glowing white pages. The pages were not numbered. It was 12 inches long. It had Egyptian hieroglyphics in it. It showed a wheel rotating in a wheel. I will be back. I am sorry for that interruption. Unfortunately, they do not want to leave me alone, so we might have to deal with a bit of puppy roughhousing. But let's get on with the video, and I hope they don't annoy you too much. There is a book that she's written, and I'll leave the links down to that down in the description box below if you are interested. So sorry. Betty believes these are angels. Stick around if you're interested in my 5 reasons why I believe they are not angels but devils. If not, thank you so much for watching. I do apologize for the puppy madness I have at the moment. Please click the like and subscribe button, and I hope to see you soon. I'm going to try get through this quickly, and I hope we don't have too many puppy interruptions. So my 5 reasons why I believe that they're demons and not angels. Number 1, test the spirits. We are told exactly how to test the spirits. 1 John 4. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. Hereby know you the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist. So that's my reason number 1. Reason number 2, they say we must follow them. We must follow them. What does Paul say? In Galatians 1:8. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. These things did not mention Jesus. They did not say anything. They said they are there to save us. Number 3. Turning the Bible pages blank. If they were from God, everybody knows that the word is Jesus. Nothing from God would ever do anything to the word of God. Number 4, God does not need to do creepy examination things on us, okay? He's God. He doesn't need to do that. And number 5, God is very clear. He's very clear what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and he's very clear. The only way you get to him is believing that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Very simple. So, riddles, really? God sent his only begotten Son to die for us, to save us. And these blokes want to give us riddles to save us. Stop. Can you think of any other reasons that why they are not of God? I loved it when Betty said, "Are you of God?" It's my new favorite phrase. But can you think of any other reasons why they are not of God? Or do you agree with Betty that they are of God? Let me know in the comments down below. Take care, my friends, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye.